There are 6 different types of market segmentation. The first type is geographic segmentation. This refers to grouping consumers based off of where they are on the globe. So this could be, grouping people into different countries, cities, even going as far as their little their ward where they would vote. The best example that I can think of is the Toronto Maple Leafs market their merchandise to people at Leafs games and in Toronto, as opposed to Boston or South Florida, because Toronto would make the most sense for their demographic and where they are trying to market their product. The next form of segmentation is demographic segmentation. This includes people from different ages, genders, and races, as well as like types of families. So one way of marketing this, a good example would be marketing to people in a younger age group using social media and popular social media trends, because this is going to be more popular with a younger demographic than with, let's say, Generation X. The third type of segmentation is socioeconomic, and this is dividing people into different socioeconomic groups based off of their income and their lifestyle. So a great example of this for marketing would be luxury cars, showing in their advertisements people going to lavish parties and fancy events, because that is the demographic of who they are marketing to. That is who they are selling their product to. The next type of segmentation is psychographic segmentation, and this is dividing people based on their personalities and lifestyles, which helps people to understand why people do certain sports. A great example of this is Cliff Bars being sold in sort of athletic facilities as opposed to art stores, because that's where their demographic will be. Next is behavioral segmentation. This is consumer behavior, and sort of showing why people buy from places and where they buy from. A great example of this is the Guinness Clear advertisement, where they advertised just water, but they had loyal customers asking where to buy Guinness Clear. And the last is benefit segmentation, and this is find out if your product meets the needs of the certain consumer, and sort of showing how you meet those needs. So, example, running shoes, advertising how their product is going to help long distance. 4 motivations for fans to attend sporting events that I've chosen to discuss are the need for affiliation, so to want to feel as a part of some sort of community. For me, I'm a Giants fan, and I've met some of my best friends through discussing football and the New York Giants, and it's a great way to interact with people. Next is through family ties, whether you have a family member playing for that team or a family member who is a fan of that team, that brings you to want to go to the games. So that is another motivator for fans to attend sporting games. When I was younger, I would go to a lot of my brother's soccer and football games, and that was just sort of, my motivation to go. The next is eustress. Eustress is a form of stress that is good, and it makes you feel excited as opposed to the draining, regular type of stress. I'm a Maple Leafs fan, so I'm, I know a lot about that. But some of my best memories are going to Maple Leafs games and feeling that excitement of whether or not they're going to score. And the last is economic value. This just means, how much value are you getting for your money, how much bang for your buck. For the price of admission, I've gone to a lot of Ice Dogs games since I've attended Brock. And while the on-ice product hasn't been great, especially last year, the tickets are very cheap and it's a great experience, so that's my motivator to go. There are many ways in which the sport industry is unique from other industries. The first is the exchange process. While all industries have some sort of exchange process, sports industry is one of the few that really has a bunch of different aspects of it. For example, you go to get groceries, you give money and you get food. Whereas you go to a sport event, give money, you watch the game, you give money, you get the concessions, sponsors pay for their advertisements to go onto the ice, onto the field, stuff like that. There's a lot of exchanges going on at sporting events. The next is athletes being used as marketing tools. Athletes are one of the few parts of an industry that really are able to advertise certain products, much like celebrities and movie stars, and that is very unique to the sports industry. Example of that would be Austin Matthews and his Uber Eats commercials, which I see all the time. The next is people dream of owning sports teams. That is how a lot of owners get into the sports industry. That's very unique. You don't see as many people, becoming billionaires and saying, I want to own, you know, a car shop or a car dealership, as opposed to I want to own a team. It's like the Ottawa Senators, when they were purchased. I just talked with one of the people who was a part of that buying team, and they said it was always a dream of theirs to go and own a sports team. And so once they got the money, that's where they went. The next is broadcasting. Broadcasting is very unique to sports. That is where they make a lot of their revenue through broadcasting deals, especially with the Olympics. CBC makes a lot of money through that deal that they have with the Olympics. The next is sponsorships. Sports is a very unique relationship with sponsorships, as many teams and athletes receive an incredible amount of compensation through sponsor partnerships. Example is the Maple Leafs and Milk, as well as many athletes and Gatorade. Next is loyalty. Sports is one of those industries where consumer loyalty is massive. You wouldn't see me as a Maple Leafs fan going out and buying a Boston Bruins jersey. So that is just one other way that the sports industry is very unique. There are many ways in which sports are different from other forms of entertainment, such as movies and television. The first, and probably the most obvious, is that sports are not scripted. When you watch a movie, that's something that's developed by the show writers to sort of show how the story goes along. But if you're watching a hockey game, there's no script for how it's going to happen. You never know. It's always up in the air. And that brings a new form of entertainment, the unknowingness of what's going to happen. The next is that sports are played by real people, as opposed to in movies and television, they're actors playing characters. In sports, these are real people who you can connect with and ultimately look up to. A lot of my heroes growing up have been athletes. The next is a sense of community. While there are fandoms of certain movies, such as Marvel and DC, the feeling of camaraderie in sport is like no other. If you go to a movie theater to watch a movie, odds are you aren't going to see too many people with their faces painted, wearing costumes. Whereas if you go to a sporting event, like a football game, you see face paint, people painting their chest, jerseys with other people's names. It's just a very great sense of community and belonging. Another way that sports are different from movies and television is that they're able to integrate way more aspects of entertainment. While it would be weird to go to a movie and then they show a full football game in the middle of the film, it's not as weird for the Super Bowl to have a massive halftime performance to sort of create another atmosphere of entertainment with famous musicians. Sports offer that platform in a way that movies and TV shows just don't. Another one is the family aspect of sports. Whether you're on the team or just watching a family member play, sports are a great way to create bonds with family, very similar to the camaraderie aspect of the game, as previously mentioned, becoming a part of that community. Most sports fans are fans of certain teams because of a family member, and this becomes a part of their identity. You just don't see that as much with movies and TV. Obviously you might watch a show because a friend liked it or recommended it, but it's not the same sort of intensity. The last is loyalty in sports. I think that sports is very loyal and unique from other forms of entertainment in this way. A great example, you'll never see a Superman fan refuse to watch a Batman movie because they're a fan of Superman. However, it would be pretty tough to see me cheering for the Dallas Cowboys while I'm a New York Giants fan just because of my loyalty to that franchise. The Niagara Ice Dogs are Niagara's OHL team. They use intelligence gathering, dissemination, and responsiveness as a way to sort of plan their marketing and get people to come to their games. The Ice Dogs are able to gather information in a multitude of ways. The first way is to simply look at their attendance, see how many people are coming to our games, who's coming to the games, what demographics, and how can we fix that, which is where they get into dissemination, and that is how they sort of distribute these products, such as, selling tickets. In terms of their dissemination, the Ice Dogs follow a very similar approach as many teams do, which is selling their tickets through companies such as Ticketmaster, as well as delivering their product online. showing clips of their game through a great social media presence that is directed at engaging a young audience with the hopes of driving in new Ice Dogs fans for the next generation. When it comes to their responsiveness, they analyze how their previous season had gone and look at where they can improve based on the information that they have gathered, who is attending these games, how many people are attending these games. And in 2020, they released their Unleashed campaign, which is a way to connect with diehard fans. They used this to sort of analyze who's coming to the games and how successful this was. This program, they looked at all their data and they saw, what we need to improve on. I think that they do a very good job in their dissemination. As previously mentioned, they're very active on social media, often following trends to appeal to younger audiences. I do think that they could improve on their intelligence gathering. I haven't seen many examples of them sort of going out and trying to find, reaching out to fans to try and find how they can improve. A great way to do this would be, surveys to season ticket holders and surveys to the fans after they buy their tickets. I believe that this can be very beneficial. In recent years, sports has made tremendous strides in their ways of approaching advertising and marketing to female sports fans. Organizations have realized that the market for female sports fans may not be as big as the male one, but that doesn't mean that they don't need to put in the effort to draw in more sports fans. As well, the market for female sports fans is definitely on the rise, especially with the increase in popularity of the WNBA and the beginning of the PWHL. They've realized that you can't just pink it and shrink it anymore. They realize that female sports fans cannot just be boiled down to the color pink, obviously, and that female sports fans are a wide variety of people with different likes and dislikes, and they require the same attention as male fans. I think the one excellent way that sports teams have been marketing to women is by using female athletes in their campaigns, shining light on these athletes' accomplishments and their goals in life. This provides young fans, especially young girls, with female athletes that they can look up to and they can feel a connection with, and this will help support the game and support the product that they are advertising. A great example of this is the PWHL using athletes such as Sarah Nurse. I know that she's done a lot of advertisements, and I've definitely seen a lot of positive impact from that. I think the one way that these sports organizations can improve is by having more women leading the charge on these marketing campaigns. Once the sports industry becomes a lot more diverse, as it is trending to be, and I believe it will be, very equal in the future, I think that it'll be a lot more successful once these women's voices are heard in this advertising, these marketing campaigns. And once again, this will lead to a much more successful approach when marketing to young female fans. Contingency planning and marketing refers to the need to adapt to unforeseen circumstances and the ever-changing landscape of the sports world. First step to this is the planning phase. So this includes market research, finding out what consumers are interested in and how big is my team's consumer base. A great example of this is researching NFL fan bases to see what the demographic is. Let's say you're making a Super Bowl ad. The next step of this is the implementation phase. This is following through on your plans and products and advertisements, and this could include commercials and promotions. Great example, you're making a Super Bowl ad. Actually getting that ad out there would be the implementation phase. Final step is the control phase, looking back at how successful you were and what you can improve on. Where did things go right? Where did things go wrong? A great example of this is looking at how your consumer demographic has changed after the Super Bowl ad. What is new? Did you bring in new fans? How are your sales? Sports offers a diversion from everyday life. The Maple Leafs often use the term Leafs Nation to describe their fans, bringing this sense of community and belongings that some fans might yearn for in their everyday life. This provides them with a distraction from that lonely feeling that they might feel, allows them to feel safe and accepted by like-minded people. Another way that fans are distracted from everyday life is once again using the Maple Leafs. They use a lot of diversity in their advertisements, which helps to limit discrimination and once again brings in that feeling of community. The last way is just through the on-ice product. Once again, using the Maple Leafs as an example, their on-ice product is so entertaining that it can allow you to just unwind for a couple hours after a long day of work. And it turns that bad stress into good stress or eustress with the excitement of cheering on your team. I really like how there's a lot of interaction between the professor and the students, However, I wish it didn't take place right after another SPEMA class.